Yo, what up guys? Meowth back here again. We have finally had all of the cards from Scholomance Academy revealed, and holy crap, the set is looking awesome, even for Wild. Like, power level and the deck building restrictions and everything seems absolutely insane. I'm excited for it. Alright, so in today's final card review video, we're going to be talking about 60-70 cards from the reveal stream plus the card dump afterwards. So we're going to be going really fast. I'll be skipping over a lot of cards that I don't think are really worth mentioning in Wild. I'm not like missing them. I'm purposely not talking about them. And those that we do talk about, we are going to go a little bit fast. So if you think that I am missing certain interactions or kind of glossing over cards that you think are powerful that I just don't see anything, let me know in the comments below. And since we're talking about that, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe if you guys enjoy videos like this. It's free and supports me a lot. Alright, so with all that being said, let's dive on into the rest of these cards. So let's start with Demon Companion. This is a Hunter and Demon Hunter dual class card. 1 mana spell, summon a random Demon Companion. So this works exactly like Animal Companion, but instead of a 4/4, you're getting a 2/2 taunt. You're getting a 1/2 Leok, and you're getting a 2/1 Huffer, and they're all demons instead of beast. So when we're looking at this card, we're looking at Odd Demon Hunter, and is a random animal companion better than a Glacial Shard or a Guardian Og Merchant? And my instinct is no, because the Glacial Shards are great in the mirrors and against Pirate Warriors, and the Og Merchants are greater against the slower decks to give your board a little bit of resiliency. So while I think it's a really cute card, I don't think this card's good enough for Wild. Alright, so let's talk about Fel Guardians. So this is a 7 mana Demon Hunter spell. Summon 3 1/2 demons with taunt. Cost 1 less whenever a friendly minion dies. So I believe that this doesn't have to be in the same turn. So I can have this in my opening hand, similar to a Corridor Creeper, and when 3 or 4 demons die, and then I can play this on turn 3 or 4. How many discounts do we need for this to be a good card? So this is 3/6 taunt, which is about 5 mana vanilla stats. So if we can get it to 4 mana or 3 mana, that's where it ends up being really good. I think that's not that difficult if you were running a tokeny style deck. The problem is, are we running a tokeny style deck? Maybe we try to run like a tokeny style Odd Demon Hunter, right? Because Fel Guardians is 7, you have the 3 mana Command the Illidari, you have the 3 mana Wrathskill Naga. Could totally potentially be a thing. Especially now that Demon Hunter's kind of in, not crisis mode, but in a lack of an identity mode. So I think this card has potential, assuming that it works the way that we do. And so it's going to take a little bit of experimentation with this card, but I think this actually has potential in Wild. A 3/6 taunt for potentially 0, like we've talked about. Anything that has the potential to cost 0 has the potential to be broken, and I don't think this card is any different. Talking about Double Jump, this is a 1 mana spell. Draw an Outcast card from your deck. So this is a nice tutor effect, and the nice big benefit for this card is that you immediately have that card in an Outcast position. I think this is good in a slower Demon Hunter deck, or a deck that's only running 2 or 3 really high impact Outcast cards. So if you're only running Skull Dans or Stelina, for example, then yeah, this card's probably good enough. Like, you run Sense Demons and Warlock, even though you're only running like 6 or 7 demons, because those demons are such high impact. I think this card, if not broken now, has the potential to be really strong in the future, and so I think this card actually is really strong, even though it might not look like it. Alright, next up we've got Blood Herald. So it's a 5 mana 1/1 Hunter and Demon Hunter dual class card. Whenever a friendly minion dies while this is in your hand, gain +1/+1. So this is another tokeny style deck. Tokeny style card. I think for this to get value, you need like 5 minions to die, so that it's at least a 5 mana 6/6 on curve. I think my issue with Demon Hunter right now is then your cards that generate tokens aren't that powerful on their own, and I don't know if this is a strong enough payoff card. Plus, it doesn't have taunt, can be silenced, easily removed, easily ignored. I'm honestly not too high on this card, so I think we're gonna pass on Blood Herald. And then we have Vile Fiend Trainer. This is a 4 mana 5/4, so decently statted. If it's outcast, you summon 2/1/1 demon, so it becomes a 7 mana or a 4 mana 7/6. Sorry, which is pretty strong. It's along the lines of like Garden Gnome and Hyena Alpha, where like if you meet the requirement. The problem is this requirement's potentially a little bit more difficult. It's not odd, which already detracts a lot from this card, unfortunately. I mean, I think it's a good card. It's not like insanely powerful. It's not the reason you're going to run a tokeny deck. What's the big payoff? Netherodamus right now, and Wrathscale Naga, and Feast of Souls are looking like the big payoffs for a tokeny Demon Hunter. And I just don't know if those are strong enough currently in Wild. So I think this card, while good, not strong enough and probably won't see play. First up, we've got Teacher's Pet. This is a 5 mana 4/5 taunt, so stats. Death Rattle, summon a random 3-cost beast. I think you can equate this to Sludge Belcher. Sludge Belcher is a 5 mana 3/5 that summons a 1/2 taunt. This is a random 3-cost beast, not guaranteed to have taunt. I think the big thing of Sludge Belcher was the fact that it soaked 2 hits against aggro decks. This soaks 1 and summons a 3-cost beast. So it's about slightly same power level as Belcher, right? The problem is, in Druid, you don't really run Belcher because the only Druid deck that really wants the taunts is Taunt Druid. This is better than Belcher than in Taunt Druid, I believe, right? Because like you don't fill your res pool with 1/2 taunts. So maybe you entertain this in a Taunt Druid deck. A Hunter deck is all about the Death Rattle focus, and I actually kind of like this in a Hunter deck. Hunter really struggles with defensive options, and so therefore, if you feel like you need a defensive option in Death Rattle Hunter, I think this is actually something to consider, right? And we've seen with Mount Solar Druid in Standard, the 3-drop Beasts are nothing to scoff at, right? I like this card. I like a lot of these cards. This one on its own is not super powerful, right? It's not going to be the reason you play Taunt Druid, but it's a little buff to the synergies of those styles of decks, which is good, right? Increasing the card quality of all these decks it is an important thing, because when the average card quality of all of your cards are pretty damn high, eventually the synergies will get to that point where the deck's just going to be pretty bonkers. I don't think we're there yet, but Teacher's Pet does help with that. Twilight Runner, this is a 5 mana 5/4 Druid Beast with Stealth. Whenever this attacks, draw 2 cards. So the card draw on this is kind of nutty. So I'm imagining this in like your Beast Druid. This into like Menagerie Warden is like the big payoff, right? This is a lot better than Stranglethorn Tiger. Again, I don't know if this card is enough for Beast Druid, especially since Beast Druid looks like it's a mid-rangey archetype, and mid-rangey archetypes have to be cheating some pretty insane amounts of mana to be viable in Wild. And Beast Druid, the power curve of Beast Druid doesn't seem that strong yet, but Twilight Runner is a nice step in that direction, and I think this will definitely see play in Beast Druid and probably Odd Druid, but not much else. And Gibbering is back as a Gibberling. This is a 1 mana 1/1 Druid card with Spellburst. Summon another Gibberling. It's a cute meme. I love this meme. It's not going to see play though. And last but not least for Druid, we've got Partner Assignment. This is a 1 mana spell. Add a random 2 and 3-cost beast to your hand. I mean, this is going to be fine off of like Nature Studies, I guess, or to activate Spellburst. But I would rather have cards in my I would rather have Beast and cards in my deck than this. Seems like a solid arena card, but not going to see play in Wild. All right, so moving on to Hunter. So Hunter's had we've had a couple of dual class cards that we've talked about already in Demon Hunter and Druid. But here we're just going to be talking about the Hunter specific ones. So the first off, we have Bloated Python. So this is essentially another egg for Death Rattle Hunter that's able to attack on its own. So you probably are running Nerubian Unravelers, and I actually don't think you run Bloated Pythons because it dilutes your Beast Draw. If you're running tutors for that, right? I'm looking at Scavenger's Ingenuity specifically. Yeah, I think the fact that it's a beast is actually a little bit of a hindrance to it. I mean, yes, it gets pulled off of Rexar, but I think in Death Rattle Hunter specifically, I still believe you're going to be wanting both Nerubian Egg and Serpent Egg just because they're 2 mana for the curve of Death Rattle Hunter. And so I don't think that this outclasses those two cards, and probably won't see play. All right, looking at Crowlisk Bark Stripper. This is a 4-mana 3/5 beast. Spell burst, destroy a random enemy minion. So this is basically Deadly Shot on a stick. I like it. I'm thinking about just what hunter decks are taking advantage of spell burst most effectively. And for me, I'm looking at Reno Hunter, I'm looking at Malygos Hunter, and I'm looking at Secret Hunter. Honestly, maybe you run this in Beast Hunter, because Beast Hunter itself doesn't really run much removal, right? And Beast Hunter, you're normally running Master's Calls, you're running Tracking, you're running Kill Commands, you're running Quick Shots. So this actually probably fits in really nicely in Beast Hunter. And then Reno Hunter, if you're deciding between a Dragon Shell and maybe a Beast Shell, you can decide between Rot Nest and this. It gives you a little bit of flexibility when you're building your Reno Hunter list, which is awesome. And we've talked a little bit about Malygos Hunter in previous card reviews. The ability to be flexible with your removal against aggro decks, I think, is a huge deal, and I think Bark Stripper is just a pretty damn good card. I think we're reaching that point where it's obvious, I hope at least, that removal on minions is, like, attached to minions is pretty good. Alright, we're looking at Overwhelm. So 1 mana, deal 2 damage to a minion, deal one more for each beast you control. So this synergizes obviously nicely with Unleash the Hounds. But I think this is just a really solid card. Probably outclasses Quick Shot. I know Quick Shot goes face, but if you control the board, then your minions get to hit face more. And this is 1 mana instead of 2, and has the potential to do a lot more than 3 damage. So I really like Overwhelm. I think it's a very, very solid card. I think we'll definitely see play in Beast Hunter. I don't know about much else. Like, I don't know if you have enough Beast synergy currently in Reno Hunter, not having built the list. But I really, really like this in Beast Hunter, for sure. We've got Carrion Studies. This is the Hunter Studies card. Discover a Death Rattle minion. Your next one costs 1 less. The thing in Hunter is that the Death Rattle minions... The thing in Death Rattle Hunter is that you're a lot less combo focused, I would say, and a lot more synergy focused. And so I would rather have a way to draw my Death Rattle effects or draw my Beast and have them on the board. I mean, I think the spell discount is never something to scoff at. In general, I'm liking the study cards that set up for combos a lot more than I'm liking the study cards that are just value based. I'm not 100% sold on this card. It might just be a solid card in something like Reno Hunter, but I don't love it. Next up, we've got Wolpertinger. This is a 1 mana 1/1 beast. Battlecry summon a copy. Alley Cat, which is one of the best 1-drops in Beast Hunter, has been power crept. So like, I think Beast Hunter probably just runs this. It runs Diramol, and it runs the little rushy Spring Paws. That's what they're called. And we saw kind of in the reveal stream, the synergy with something like Scavenger's Ingenuity. It's a 1 mana 6/6, which is kind of nuts. And like, low key, this is insane off of Rexar. Like, absolutely insane off of Rexar. The ability to double up on this whatever zombies you're creating. I mean, I think this card is just a really solid 1-drop, really strong. Any deck that was running Alley Cat in it before is not going to be running Wolpertinger instead. Alright, so we saw a lot of mage cards. So the first one we're going to talk about is Wyrm Weaver. This is a 5 mana 3/6 spell burst, summon 2 1/1 mana worms. This seems awfully slow and wild. I know you're getting like 9 mana worth of stuff, but like I said, this just seems really, really slow for current builds. Maybe if you're going the miracle spell damage route, you want this, but even then, I'd rather be killing my opponent with burn spells and not like waiting for my mana worms that are never going to stick around. So I don't think this card's very good, and I don't think it'll see play. Firebrand. So this is basically just a bad Flame Waker. Cram Session. So this one's actually really, really interesting. I think the spell damage mage archetype, like both just like the tempo spell damage mage and then like the OTK burn spell damage mage, both kind of really like this card. This is essentially like, if you play the 1 mana 1/3, this is a 2 mana draw 2 in mage, which is kind of nutty. And then if you have multiple spell damage, this gets very easily on Divine Favor levels of insane card draw, which is good. Not something that mage really needs a lot of help with, but I think this is a very good card. And we'll definitely see play in those 2 archetypes, and might actually just see play in other archetypes as well, just because it seems like that 1/3 and, for example, Blood Mage Thalnos or Azure Explorer, if you're running like Arena Mage, feels like potentially really easy to to abuse this, and card draw. Card draw is good. In case you guys didn't know, drawing cards is very strong in a card game. And the last card for Mage is Trick Totem. This is a 2-mana Shaman and Mage dual class card. 2-mana 0/3 totem. At the end of your turn, cast a random spell that costs 3 less. I don't foresee this in Mage unless you're running like pure Casino Mage. And even in Even Shaman. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about it once we get to Shaman. I'd rather have Evil Totem over this, I believe. You know there's going to be those highlights where you cast Trick Totem and it casts Totemic Reflection on itself. You already know it's about to happen. And in those cases, this card's absolutely insane. But then they cast Defile the turn after and you're crying a little bit, so it's okay. Alright, moving on to Paladin. Paladin got some pretty insane cards, I think, actually. So the first one we're going to talk about is Shield of Honor. This is a Warrior Paladin dual class card. Give a damage minion +3 attack, Divine Shield for 1 mana. So obviously this is great in Enraged Warrior, but I'm also really considering this card in something like Odd Paladin, Quarter Creeper, Quartermastered buffs, Never Surrendered buffed recruits. I don't know if this is better than Blessing Might, because kind of the big power of Blessing Might. The two big things that this can't do over Blessing Might is the fact that you can use it on a recruit early in the game to trade up into a minion against other aggro decks, and you won't always have the flexibility to do this with Shield of Honor. And then obviously like the Leroy Blessing of my finisher. So you kind of miss out on that, but the Divine Shield is kind of nutty. This is just something to think about, I think, when you're building Odd Paladin deck lists. Odd Paladin used to kind of auto-include Blessing of Might just because it was a pretty strong card. And now, if you have multiple ways to buff the health of your minions, maybe Shield of Honor is actually just a better way in Odd Paladin. And of course, I think it's a consideration in Enraged Warrior as well. And let's not forget the potential combo implications of Enraged Warrior, right? With something like Grom or Leroy combos. I think this card has a lot of potential in Wild. Alright, next up we've got Wave of Apathy. This is a 1-mana Paladin Priest card. Set the attack of all enemy minions, to 1 until your next turn. So obviously in Priest, this is some pretty insane shenanigans with stealing things with Cabal Acolyte or Potion of Madness or Shadow Madness. Like, you can do some pretty dumb things with this card, and I am not looking forward to playing against Priest, and we'll talk about some of the Priest cards as well. From the Paladin point of view, though, I don't really know how Paladin can abuse this. I think the equality is a huge deal. As for Paladin, you probably are just using this as a stall mechanic in a combo, like Uther OTK style of deck. I don't know if you need more stall, but diversity in your selection of stall tools is always a good thing, and so I'm pretty sure combo Paladin will be happy to see this as well. Alright, so next up we've got Commencement. This is a 7-mana Warrior Paladin card, so this is good for Recruit Warrior and Recruit or Dual Paladin. Summon a minion from your deck, give it Taunt and Divine Shield. So this is like Gather Your Party for Warrior, but with the upside of Taunt, Divine Shield. So Recruit Warrior loves to see this because now you have 4 Recruit effects, and now Paladin has 2 with Dual and Commencement. The mana cost is pretty expensive. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's pretty expensive. I think both decks will probably run this card, and I really don't have too much to say about it. I think it's just it's a decent card for the decks that want to run it. Judicious Junior. This is a 6-mana 4/9 lifesteal. Not a super exciting card. I think it's a pretty expensive card. I don't even think Even Paladin wants this. I think it's a little bit too slow for Even Paladin. So I don't think this card's going to see play. And then we have Blessing of Authority. This is the last card for Paladin. It's a 5-mana spell. Give a minion +8/+8. It can't attack heroes this turn. So the only place I can really foresee this seeing play is in Odd Paladin. And the big thing here is you have recruits on the board. And when it comes to turn 5, you buff a recruit and you can trade. And I think the big thing here is against Q-Block. Okay? And so if they Void Collar into Void Lord, what you could do is you can use this on a minion and kill the Void Lord before it gets cubed, and you stand a chance. And it's probably really good in aggressive matchups as well, aggressive mirrors, because those matchups are generally all about board control, and creating a 9/9 on turn 8 to trade into whatever you want and then hit face the next turn. It seems pretty good to me. It is 5 mana though, so you can't like it's really slow if you want to try to like hero power into that, and you have to make sure you stick stick minions. And I'd rather still be playing Quartermaster or Loatheb on 5. We'll see, but I think this is definitely something to consider. In Odd Paladin, it's kind of scary. Odd Paladin's getting a few tools to up its game. All right, so on to Priest. First off, we've got Power Word Feast. So this is apparently Priest of the Feast's son, which is kind of a cute, I guess lore. It's not really lore style thing. But basically, it says a 2 mana +2/+2. Restore it to full health at the end of this turn. So basically, the dream is Northshire Cleric or Frazzled Freshman on 1, and then you +2/+2 on turn 2, and it becomes a 3/6 that heals back up to full, or a 3/5 that heals back up to full. And if it's the Northshire Cleric, you'll draw a card off of that. I mean, this is great in Inner Fire Priest. The extra arms was nuts, right? And so this is good. It's not as nuts as extra arms, but it has a synergy with stuff like Northshire Cleric, which is a little bit of an added benefit. I think this will see play in your aggro buff Priest or your Inner Fire Priest. I think this is a good card. Another card that I think is really, really good, Raised Dead. 0 mana Priest Warlock card. So let's start off by talking a little bit about Warlock. I know we're talking about Priest, but Warlock, I think this is just a strong card. I think this is going to see play in Sudoku Warlock, probably even Warlock. I really wonder if you maybe even run this in Key Block. Not that you need more value, but it's pretty good in those decks. And then we're looking at Priest. I think there's obviously the potential implications of Big Priest, right? But then you have to play the minions from hand, so who knows? It might be a little bit too slow for that class, or for that deck, rather. But I also think a big implication is, so Reno Priest that runs Cycle, or Quest Priest, right? That's running the Loot Hoarder, Dead Ringer, Cycle style of package with Awaken the Makers. I mean, this is 0 mana, get 2 more card draw spells to your hand to continue to cycle through your deck. I think the big thing is when those decks stall on draw, that's when that deck tends to lose. And so the ability to potentially keep churning through your deck is a huge deal. And so I think you're also looking at this in those styles of decks. Next up, we've got probably the one that caused the biggest reaction in my Discord when we were talking about the live reveal stream in live time. Mind Render Elusia. Okay, so this is a 2 mana 1/3. Not crazy stat lines. Battle Cry, swap hands and decks with your opponents until your next turn. Excuse me? Priest has actually become the definition of the most unfun class to ever play against. I'm going to hate playing against this card, but I'm probably going to love playing this card. Right? You can only the dream scenarios of Cube Warlock, not Cube Warlock, sorry. The dream scenarios of like Mechathune Warlock and Quest Mage, and then they complete their quest, or they have 2 cards left in their deck, and then you swap decks and hands, and then you like play Cataclysm if you're like the Mechathune Warlock, and then they actually just can't combo, right? Or you play the Kael'thas on your side of the board so they can't combo, or you're playing against a Quest Mage that can play Quest like on turn 6, turn 7. Usually you're screwed and like that matchup's unwinnable, and then you just play Lucia and you play Quest, and then on your next turn you get your hand back and you continue to play the game, right? That's what the heck, man. I don't know. Like, obviously your opponent gets to play with the cards in your hand, but generally if you're playing this in a Reno Priest, you don't really care, right? I mean, unless they play your Raza. But if you're disrupting their combo, does that even really matter? I think this card, like I mentioned, I think it's got a lot of hype, maybe deservedly so, because it's a really unique effect, really powerful effect potentially. We're going to see how easy it is for your opponents to abuse this card, because if it's moderately potentially abusable by your opponents, I think, I mean, maybe even an underrated thing against other aggressive decks. You just play this on 2, and then they kind of have to take a turn off of development, which is actually kind of a huge deal, right? As like against a Demon Hunter, for example, or a Pirate Warrior, which is a huge deal. So actually, the more I'm thinking about this card, the more I'm really liking it. Like I said, that we have to see how potentially abusable it is by your opponents. And if it's not very abusable, I think this card has the potential to be really, really strong and really, really unfun to play against. But yeah, that's that's probably just Priest Identity, right? Strong, unfun. All right, so next up we have Draconic Studies. So this is a card we've kind of talked about already, where we talk about the value studies not really feeling like they have a place in Wild, because I can't really imagine a combo based upon this unless you're running like Malagos and a Mind Blast Priest. And then why are you not just running Velen? So I don't love this card, and I don't think it'll see play. All right, and last but not least for Priest, we've got Initiation. This is a 6 mana spell. Deal 4 damage to a minion. If it kills it, summon a new copy. So this card is very similar to Holy Water. Holy Water was really slow because when you killed the minion, it got pulled to your hand. And so with Holy Water, you were really looking to hit stuff like Zephrys or Kazakis and Mirrors. With Initiation, you're dealing 4 damage to a minion and then summoning that copy, so it's a lot more tempo than Holy Water, but it's still pretty slow tempo, because if it's turn 6 and then you're getting away with just dealing 4 damage to a minion, you're probably winning anyways, right? I think once you're getting to turn 5, turn 6, turn 7, those are your big AoE turns anyways, so I think I might be wrong, but I don't think this card's very good, and I don't think I'll sleep play. Alright, so next up we're going to talk about Rogue. First up we've got Coerce. This is a 3 mana Rogue Warrior spell. Destroy damage minions, so an expensive execute. Combo, destroy any minion, so a really cheap assassinate. Odd Warrior, might want it. Single target removal. Rogue. Do we want this in Odd Rogue? I don't think so. I think we just want Valspine and Slayer over this. So I don't think this will actually see play in Rogue. Maybe an Odd Warrior. Cutting Class. 5 mana Rogue Warrior card. Draw 2 cards. Cost 1 less per the attack of your weapon. Okay, so Pirate Warrior might want this, right? With Ankar and or Deathbite. But screw Warrior, we're talking about Rogue. Yeah, Odd Rogue. Just, it's 3 mana, draw 2. It's an Arcane Intellect for Odd Rogue, okay? And then Kingsbane Rogue. Oh my god, Kingsbane is getting so many insanely strong cards. Like, it's kind of nutty how many strong cards they're getting. Kingsbane, the whole point of the deck is making a big weapon. So this is basically going to be a 0 mana draw 2, or a 1 mana draw 2, which is insanely good. I think this card is very good, and I think you'll see a lot of play in Kingsbane Rogue and Odd Rogue as well. So yeah, Kingsbane Rogue, big winner. So we've got Shifty Sophomore. We're obviously had the Frazzle Freshman. We got the Shifty Sophomore. We'll get to we had the Junior already. We'll talk about the Senior later. But we've got Shifty Sophomore, 4 mana, 4/4 stealth card. So we've talked about this a little bit when we were kind of assessing Liliana. But 4 mana stealth really doesn't fit in that curve of the current stealth rogue decks. But this card also has Spell Burst, add a combo card to your hand, so it gets you a little bit of resource generation and value. I like this card, honestly, the same amount as Liliana, and I didn't really love Liliana, so not a huge fan of this card. I actually think it's still pretty slow, and so therefore I don't think it'll see play. Next up we have Volpira Toxin Blade. This is a card that I actually think is insanely good in Odd Rogue and potentially Kingsbane Rogue. I mean, Odd Rogue, you dagger onto like 90% of your games, and so then all of a sudden you play this and your dagger becomes a 4/2, which is insane, and it's a persistent effect, right? So if this ever sticks, you can always just like re-dagger and you have another 4/2 for free. I think this card is just really strong in Odd Rogue. I think it should see a lot of play in Odd Rogue. I think Rogue is getting a huge set of buffs in this expansion, which is awesome in Wild. Self-Sharpening Swords is a 3 mana 1/4. After your hero attacks, gain +1 attack. This just is, I think, way too slow for Wild. And last but not least for Rogue, we have Plagiarize as a new secret. At the end of your opponent's turn, add copies of the cards they played to your hand. This seems like it's insanely good, right? So I mean, let's just break it down. Obviously, Quest Mage, you'll get a lot of those cards back to your hand so that you can do the similar sort of pop-off turn potentially. Even against stuff like Demon Hunter, you get a 3-drop as well. And slower decks, not as happy about this, but it's another resource generation secret for Rogue. I don't think it's as good as like drawing your own cards naturally as like off of dirty tricks and the tempo you get off of ambush. But it's a different type of secret. Will I play this in Secret Rogue? Yeah. Is it better than the other secrets Rogue currently has access to? It's probably better than on the same level as Bamboozle, maybe a little bit better. And so I probably am going to run this as like my 5th or 6th secret in like a secret package for Rogue. I don't hate it. I also just I don't love it. It's a cool card though and a cool concept. My big like issue with the card is the fact that against slower control decks they can just completely whiff, which is going to feel really really bad. Or hit you with an AoE card, which you really don't want. So yeah. Alright, on to Shaman. We've got Tidal Wave. This is an 8 mana spell with lifesteal. Deal 3 damage to all minions. This is like Spirit Lash on steroids. The card itself I don't think is very good. It's healing for Shaman, which is nice with another board clear. The problem is 3 damage by turn 8 seems really, really slow. And honestly, I'd rather run Earthquake over this. I think the only thing to consider is that if you're running big spell Shaman or running Spiteful or Fist, 8 mana cards are a little bit better than 7 mana, so like that's probably the only consideration for running this over Earthquake, but I don't actually like this card. Molten Blast. So this is a 3 mana Shaman spell. Deal 2 damage, summon that many elementals. So this is obviously scaling with spell damage. So for this to scale with spell damage, you need at least 2, right, for it to be a 3 mana deal 4. I think you can consider this to Implosion as well, right? Implosion was 4 mana, high roll 4 damage, deal 4. But most of the time it was 2 or 3 damage, right? And you were happy with 3, right? And so if you can get 1 spell damage off of 1 spell damage to buff Molten Blast, it becomes a 3 mana Implosion, which is not bad. So then the next question becomes, do you really have ways to abuse the tokens? And outside of Bloodlust, not really. You can do stuff with Flame Tongue Totem, so maybe this is like an odd Shaman card, or just like a solid card in a token Shaman. I'm not 100% certain. But it's like a consistent Implosion, which means that I already like it a lot better than Implosion. And I'm sure that there are ways that you can abuse this in Wild. I think we definitely need to revisit like a mid-range Shaman that's not even Shaman. In Wild, it's going to suck giving up the 1 mana hero power, but it might be worth it. We'll see. And last but not least, a card that synergizes very nicely with the last card we just talked about, Rune Dagger. It's a 2 mana 1/3 weapon. After a hero attacks, gain +1 spell damage this turn. So this is very similar to the Verisa Windrunner, the Hunter legendary, where you attack with the weapon, you get +2 spell damage, except this is you get to run 2 of them, and it comes out early. So I have 2 kind of main areas that I think this is going to want to see play. So obviously, like the spell damage Shaman, but I also think this might just be a solid card in aggro Shaman. So over Lickum, right? That's kind of the two cards that are competing for the same slot. So Lickum is like a consistent 3 damage, where this sets up your other spells like Maelstrom Portal or Serpent Shrine Portal or Crackle Face. I think this is just one of those cards where you're now looking and saying, okay, well, normally we used to run Lickum. Do we run this instead? Can we rebuild the deck to take advantage of this a little bit more consistently? Which is good. You like to see that in Wild. Alright, so we had already seen a ton of the Warlock cards, and we had already seen Raise the Dead earlier when we were talking about Priest. So Warlock, we only have 1 card to talk about, Demonic Studies. Discover a demon, your next one costs 1 less. I'm wondering if you ever run this in, like, Keyblock? No, you don't. And you don't run it in Zoo. I'm not. This card's bad. Alright, so on to Warrior, the final class. We've talked a lot about some dual class cards that Warrior's gotten, but we're going to talk about the last 3 Warrior specific cards, starting with Reaper's Scythe. This is a 4 mana 4/2 weapon. Spell Burst also damages adjacent minions this turn. So I'm actually running Deathbite, my Pirate Warrior, right now because it's a 4 attack weapon, and it's better into aggro than Wrench Caliber. And this card actually probably is better into aggro than Deathbite, right? And so, like, unironically, I think you're considering this in Pirate Warrior. I think it's pretty good. And you do have weapons or spells to activate this weapon with stuff like Upgrade or Corsair Cache. And so I'm considering it, like, I'm running a 1-of Deathbite in Pirate Warrior. This is probably a little bit better. And so, yeah, in that fringe scenario, I think this actually sees play in Wild. Alright, so then we have Information. This is a 2-mana spell. Add 2 random taunt minions to your hand. Is this better than I Know a Guy? Yeah, you get 2 instead of 1. But they're random instead of discovered. But you also were never close to running I Know a Guy in Wild Taunt Warrior, so you're still probably not running this card in Wild Taunt Warrior. And last but not least, we have Athletic Studies, the other studies card. Discover a rush minion, your next one costs 1 less. So there's some cute ways to combo this card, right? With the weapon buffer, you have the 3-mana 4/3 that summons copies of rush minions. You also have your 5/8 Blood Boil Brute. This is probably better than a lot of the other studies, but I still don't think it's going to see play in Wild. And so now we're moving on to the neutral cards. I'm going to go through these really, really quickly and just touch on a few of the highlights. So Sorcerous Substitute, not very good. Mana Feeder Panthera. So 2-mana 2/3 battlecry. If you've used your hero power this turn, draw a card. This is probably really, really good off of Deathstalker Rexar, and this will be good in a fairly aggressive Demon Hunter build, maybe, because it's the only one that is consistently using their hero power early in the game. You can also look at this as maybe Even Shaman, right? For that same reason as Demon Hunter, this could be a 2-mana 2/3 draw card in Even Shaman. Even Shaman has historically struggled with draw, and so I think you're actually looking at this card potentially to supplement that in Even Shaman. So I think this card has a lot more potential than it first looks like. And then this card, oh my god, this card, Voracious Reader, 2-mana 1/3. At the end of your turn, draw until you have 3 cards. So basically, they took Jeeves, which was already pretty damn busted, and they power crept it so hard. This card's insane. Okay, it's one-sided and it's 2 mana, and it can be tutored off of stuff like Crystology. This card's nuts. I think any deck that was potentially considering running G's definitely runs Voracious Reader. It seems bonkers good. Aggro, getting yet another tool in Wild. I think this card's insanely good. Steward of Scrolls, I think it's too slow. Core Guide. So this card actually, I think, low-key really, really strong as well. So obviously there's synergy with Shutterwalk Shaman that a lot of people are going to lean to, but I think also just look at stuff like Odd Paladin and Odd Rogue, where your hero power costs 0, right? So you play this, and you get 3 1/1s on turn 1 as Odd Paladin. Yikes. And Odd Rogue, 1-mana 1/1 daggers on turn 2, or turn 1 if you need them. Pretty good. So yeah, Shutterwalk has synergy, but also just your odd aggressive decks also want to probably consider this as well. Animated Broomstick. We have Magic Carpet. I think Magic Carpet is just better because it's a 1/6, but this has immediate impact of all other minions having Rush. I'm sure there's some sort of combo you can do with this deck, i.e. maybe Knuckles, or I'm sure there's combos out there that I'm blanking on. So let me know if you have any of those down in the comments below. But unless you're going off with some sort of combo, I think Magic Carpet's just better. Robes of Protection. 3-mana 2/4. Your minions can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. So yeah, while this effect's cute, I don't think it's very strong, and so I don't. Plagued Protodrake. So this is probably a really good card in something like Big Rogue or Dual Paladin or one of these recruit decks, because it's not only is an 8-mana 8/8 that's kind of spooky, but the Death Rattle is a 7-mana card. While 7-mana cards still suck, it's still a fairly scary body. So if you somehow need more of these cards, feel free to run Protodrake. Maybe you run it in Even Shaman instead of Kel'Thuzad, or if you're somehow still running that in your deck, just as resiliency to AoE as a big deck. But on its own, I don't think it's that good. Crimson Hothead, 3-mana 3/6. Spellburst gain taunt. Since it doesn't have taunt on its own, I don't think it's very good. Next up, we've got Duskin, 0-mana 1/1. Next in the line of cute 1/1s. I don't know about you. I think this is still pretty cute. I think it's cuter than Tinyfin. Fight me. But unless you're doing some sort of combo with Philosophy, or you really want 0-mana minions, I don't think this is super competitive. But it's competitive on the cute scale, and that's all that matters. Lake Thresher, not good. Smug Senior. So this is a 6-mana 5/7 taunt. Death Rattle at a 5/7 ghost with taunt to your hand. 6-mana 5/7 is not good enough for what? So next up we've got Ogremance at 5 mana 3/7. Whenever your opponent casts a spell, summon a 2/2 skeleton with taunt. So before people go yelling quest mage counter, quest mage counter, quest mage counter, Trogs have never seen competitive play. None of them. And Trogsor hasn't seen play. And so while this is a cute effect, I don't think it's strong enough to counter quest mage. And if it can't counter quest mage, it probably won't see play. Next up we got Fishy Flyer. 4 mana 4/3 Rush Murloc. Death Rattle at a 4/3 goes with Rush to your hand. So it's kind of a nerf to Plague of Murlocs. I don't know if this is strong enough for you to put it in your deck on purpose. Like, I don't know if Murloc Paladin, Murloc Shaman want to run it. You might. I don't believe the Ghost is a Murloc. But yeah, I mean, it's great off of random effects. I don't think it's strong enough, though, to run into your deck because it is a little bit on the pricey side. Next up, we've got Divine Rager. Rager Tribal getting closer and closer to being a thing. But competitively, not going to see play. Enchanted Cauldron, 3 mana 1/6 Spell Burst. Cast a random spell at the same cost. Casting a random spell seems really meh. I don't think this is good enough. Probably won't see play. Wandmaker. So this 2 mana 2/2 Battle Cry. Add a 1-cost spell from your class to your hand. I mean, I think if you're considering running Spellkin, you're probably considering running this card because it's much more appropriately statted. It's 2 mana 2/2 rather than a 5 mana 3/5. I mean, I'm looking at you, Mage and Demon Hunter. If you're considering running Spellkin, you're probably also considering running this. Probably a nice little inclusion into Reno Quest Mage. Sneaky Delinquent. I'm actually kind of like maybe weirdly excited for this card because we've talked a lot about these 4 mana stealth cards being really, really awkward in Rogue because they don't really fit the curve. Because you really want your stealth cards on 2. And so this really fits in nicely. It's 2 mana 3/1 with stealth. Death Battle at a 3/1 Ghost with stealth, so it also enables future stealth synergy cards. It curves in nicely to Greyheart Sage and to Quint Sensei. I mean, I like the card a lot. Just for specifically a stealth package in Rogue. It's not super strong on its own, but it's a nice synergy enabler for some other really bonkers strong cards. So I'm intrigued by this card. And last but not least, we have Intrepid Initiates. 1 mana 1/2 Spell Burst, gain +2 attack. Don't think this card's very good at all. And so I'm not going to really talk too much about it. Alright guys, we did it. That's all the cards from Scholomance Academy. Holy crap, the set looks insane! I am so excited. I can't wait for the 6th. I am ready to get my hands on these cards. I hope you guys enjoyed these card reviews, giving a little bit of my thought process about whether they'll see player in Wild or not. I know some of them were a little bit long, but I appreciate you guys watching them. Especially if you made it all the way to the end of the 4th one. I appreciate you guys. And just a reminder, let me know in the comments below what your favorite cards are, whether you think I got any of these wrong. I kind of glossed over a couple of these, and so if you're seeing some synergies that I didn't see, let me know in the comments below. Yeah. And make sure you guys hit that subscribe button because Theorycraft videos are coming soon. I'm so excited to start Theorycrafting. It's my favorite part of any expansion. I love doing it. So if you want to see some of the decks that I make, I will be streaming them live over on Twitch, so head over there and drop a follow. Or if you just drop a subscription here, you'll get a notification on when those Theorycrafting videos, highlights, go live. So yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. Later.